Hello, since there is a lot of controversy regarding the Dark and Darker game and their business model, I want to address some of the things because, like I keep saying, everything is filled with politics. So, if you research the subject for 5 minutes, you'll think, okay, the developers are right, the reviewers are wrong. But the more research you intend, the more you think about it.
A very, very creepy feeling of it. As you can see on the minimap, you'll see where you are.
Exactly.
No idea how.
Then I get attacked. The problem is that the game has a very long development cycle. Why am I showing you this older video over here when I'm playing the game? This is from 2 years ago where the game had a demo, but the demo itself was basically the free-to-play version of the game. And guess what's happening right now? The developers are marketing the game as free-to-play, but the free-to-play version of today has less features and less, how should I put that, progression than the demo version of 2 years ago. As you can see, the game evolved a lot, but most of the changes were related to the UI and some of the map design choices and some of the other stuff. Again, the problem is the developers are being very shady about the development cycle as well. So the game has been developed for 4 or 5 years at least. This demo that I'm playing is 2 years old. And right now the game has a free-to-play version that is super restrictive, that is not... I mean, you cannot even call it a demo. You can call it a trial version, but even so, there are many issues with the game. So what is the problem? But first of all, let's read what the developer said, and then we'll say, hey, the developers are right. But then we'll go into the stuff that is actually the bad thing. Also, I'll turn up the volume a little bit so you can hear. Now, what did the developers say about the philosophy behind the paid free-to-play model? We like to address the free-to-play model. We have heard your feedback loud and clear and would like to explain. So again, they have heard the feedback, but they're not addressing the feedback. They're just responding to the feedback, saying that people are wrong. We would like to clear up any misunderstanding and lay out our plans going forward. We apologize anyway, that doesn't matter. The main reason we released our game as free-to-play was because we made a promise to our early loyal adopters on Blacksmith that we'd do everything possible to not force them to buy the game again if we went to major platform, which is a little bit weird because there are many ways to share your progress, and it's quite common on some games for like Steam and Epic to share the progress, but that is not done anymore. So they are kind of like, this is like a politician telling you, hey, we're raising the taxes so we can give you more money. Wait, what? Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's that way to tell people that it's actually for their own good. That's why I don't like it. We do not believe in double dipping or taking advantage of our fans, but come on, you can give them Steam keys, except it will be a little harder. But the problem is the developers didn't think about this. When they released the game on their own launcher, on their own website, they didn't think what would happen when they released the game on Steam or Epic, which is a major issue. Wow. Okay. When we designed our free-to-play model, our intention was to ensure that previous customers did not feel as if they were taken advantage of for supporting us. We wanted to make sure they're properly compensated for the royalty while still feeling excited for the new transition to a free-to-play version. Which is again weird because I understand the reasoning. They could have just sent keys to their Blacksmith account, but probably they were fearing that people would sell their Steam keys or their Epic keys or something like that. But I think that could have been done in a much better way. Oh, I died over there. Anyway, this is how the models look like. The game improved a lot, but it's mostly a cosmetic look in my opinion. A bit of context and history. We implemented the current normal mode that restricts items to common grade back in November 2023. So currently you can only play normal mode in the demo, even though it's the free-to-play version, because that's the best way to balance the game. The developers have a very chaotic development cycle. Our Blacksmith players saw the mode as a solution to the divisive item gap disparity, and many viewed the mode as the most fair and most balanced way to play the game. Rather than a limiting system, we decided to open the normal mode to the free version precisely because of its high value to the community. We naively thought this mode would be compelling enough for incoming players since they got access to most of the popular and accessible mode in the game for free. We had failed to take into consideration how brand new players will, not knowing the development context, would have a different perceived value of this mode, and how could it easily be constructed as us trying to bait and switch them? Anyway, I'll not be reading the entire thing, but let's read a few more sentences. The secondary reason for restricting free players to normal mode was to act as a barrier and lower the incentives for hackers to disrupt the game. Yeah. Okay. When releasing our Squire and Legendary account models, our intent was to offer a free version of the game that had no time limit. This would give players a commitment-free opportunity to see what Dark and Darker has to offer. The free account status allows players to experience normal mode dungeons with a single character, stash the loot they acquire, and complete quests. This improves their standing with the merchants, improves pricing and wares, and also expands the items they can buy. Despite our intentions, we will fail in anticipating the expectations that new players would have when approaching our game. We did not intend to deceive our players, and we now realize that the current normal and high roller bifurcation is not well designed for free-to-play players. Again, this is the developers practically telling us we are wrong, but this is how they exactly envisioned and developed the game. And like I said, they could have had a free-to-play version that was much better, like the initial demos for the game had. Okay, we'll speak about this a little later. We built a full loot extraction game and then forced upon a large contingent of the player base the inability to utilize their hard-earned loot without any workarounds. We understand the absurdity of the situation and we are now looking to make amends. What is the problem? The problem is you cannot take gear into the game. You can take gear out of the raid, but you cannot take the gear into the raid because it will be higher tier than the limit that the game allows you to do it. Again, this is absurd. They have never really thought about their player base in this way where they can make the game fair. We are currently working on a solution to take into consideration both the needs of the existing and new players. Our goal is to give new players the ability to experience a complete loop of full loot extraction experience and risk their loot while still respecting the loyalty of our existing players. We are still working on the details for that plan that will address access to high roller dungeons, the ability to unlock character slots, and will make an announcement very soon. Okay, you might think, well, the developers are right. People are complaining that the game is free to play, but I just went through all of those nonsense to explain that the game has been in development for a long time and it still doesn't have a clear progression or a clear business model, and they just wanted to put the game out there so people could buy it. So people bought the game on their platform, and now that it's coming out to other platforms, they don't want to give them accounts to these platforms. From what I know, you still, even if you are using the free-to-play version, you still need to link your account and upgrade your account on Steam. Or I'm not sure how this will be. Probably this will be done in the future while the players will receive an upgrade code for free when they are linking their account. So they'll get all of the progression tied, but at the same time, they'll not need to use their other launcher or whatever it is. So what is the problem with this approach, you might say? The developers are right. Well, not exactly. Because the game was marketed initially as being available on Steam, it had a few problems, and well, I would say that most people who are playing the game like the game, but I don't think new people will want to get into the game. Because let's just say that the developers have a very long-term plan, and the game is based on wipes, in-game cash shop, and some other stuff that is really shady and could change over time. Now, currently, from what I know, the current version of the game, the paid version of the game, doesn't have anything that is pay to win, but it's kind of getting closer to pay to win with some of the currencies they have and some of the other stuff. So again, they might just pull an escape from Tarkov on us any minute, any point. I mean, if you invest your money and your time in a game, people will be upset about the lost time, especially like in Escape from Tarkov. After so many years, they released the unheard version, which was basically the pay-to-win version, even though the other versions were still pretty much pay-to-win as well. Oh, got killed over there by that guy. So, the main concern is that developers are not addressing the true problems of the game, which are their business model, which is super sketchy, shady, and greedy. So, what is the problem? Okay, so now you have seen the point of view of the developers. Now let me tell you my point of view from the point of view of the gamer, and why I am not playing the game and why I'll never play the game. Because if you download the free-to-play model on Steam, the game is advertised as a free-to-play game, right? Right. Is it a free-to-play game? No. It's a demo. It's not even a demo. It's a limited, basically a limited and gated, or how should I put it, trial version of the game. Because you cannot really access the entire game and some of the features are not really available to you. What this makes what this makes it look like is that the developers are giving you a free-to-play demo, which again, it's a demo. It shouldn't be entitled free-to-play, but it's a demo that is marketed as a free-to-play game, so people will give it a negative review. So understand that the people reviewing the game on Steam are just giving it the review it deserves based on the premises that it's a free-to-play game, but it's actually it's less than a demo, because the demo I played and the demo I'm showing you right now had more content and nothing was limited. Another problem is that if you have to enter through their in-game shop, if you enter to the in-game shop and buy the game, to upgrade your game version to the full version of the game, you will not have regional pricing. That's a big issue, because one of the favorite features that Steam has for players is regional pricing. So, 1, there is no regional pricing. 2, you cannot refund the game, because if you go through the in-game shop, you cannot refund it. So the game you are playing is not really the game either way. So you're not really testing anything. And people, yeah, this is why it's considered a bait and a switch. And that's exactly what it is. It's kind of like a bait. You cannot refund the game. You also don't have the regional pricing. And number 3, you are not really trying out anything, not even a demo, not even a free-to-play version, because you are basically playing an MMO with a paywall. So as long as you don't have any, let's say, features of the free-to-play version, you don't have any features of the Steam system, which people really like and enjoy in a way, that's why the game will never be, let's say, the current version of the game on Steam will never be regarded as something interesting. They could have done it many other ways, but you kind of understand that the developers are shady and they're trying to avoid a lot of the same systems that Steam has. Steam will gradually get around to the systems of developers like this and kind of fix them, because Steam has already fixed the advanced access policy of games, because many games, if you pre-order them, you would get 3-4 days to play them, and then when they came out, you could refund them, but you couldn't review them at the time of release. So now if you buy a game, you pre-order a game, and if you want to review it, you can review it immediately, but you cannot play it for free and then refund it when the game is released. So that's a big issue as well, because, let me go through here. Steam will get around to fix these issues, but for now, really, Steam is basically trying to allow developers to scam people. And again, I'm sorry about Steam, but there's no other way around this. You cannot basically price a game for 0 and then not even offer half of the game to the players. Another problem is that the development cycle has been so long that people will be getting into the game thinking this is a solid game that just released. No. The game has been out for a long time, and the developers are constantly adding features and removing the features. The most common one, or the most known one, was the multi-class feature they introduced into the main game, the main branch. They also have a test branch, but apparently they have a problem using it or whatever. And most people hated the multi-class system and they took it out of the game. So they're just trying to, I don't know, it's kind of like they're trying to make a hamburger by putting the ingredients in a different order. It will still taste the same. Come on, if you put the lettuce first, it will still taste the same as if you put the lettuce in the middle. If you put the cheese below and the meat, again, that's what they're doing with the game. They're not really progressing on the development on the game. And another problem, in my opinion, is number 4, or if you want to take it into this context, is that the game is not really marketed as what it is. It's a multiplayer, co-op, PvE, PvP game. That sounds a little weird. What do you mean by that? Well, if you're going to play the game with 2 or 3 people, most of the missions will feel like PvE. Because, hey, look, I got killed by an archer over there. Because if you're going to play with more people, the game will become much easier. So if you play with 2 or 3 more people, you will have a very easy time going through all of the content of the game. If you just want to focus on the PvE, believe me, if you have a full squad of people, I think currently it's 4 people, you can do all of the bosses and all of the things and all of the dungeon levels and all of the stuff you can do. The problem is that as a solo player, you cannot access most of the high roller content and also the endgame content, because it's gated behind bigger squad. You may think, that's not a problem, is it? No, it's a big problem, because no matter how good you are at the game, no matter how well you play the game, it's a very janky game, and if you get hit a few times, you will die anyway. So it doesn't really show you what the game truly is. If you are going to play with 4 people, you can kill all of the bosses. Some bosses, yeah, really need 4 people. That will be the more interesting and the more challenging stuff. And the developers are focusing on making the game a very, very good 4-man team kind of like a competitive game. But that's kind of all they're doing with the game. They're not really trying to balance the game around one player, two players, or around normal mode. They're just trying to give as much the community as possible so they have something to do, plus the wipes. So I don't know, maybe I'm just stretching out the conversation too much in a way, but I'm just trying to explain that the game has no clear future, and that's why I'm not supporting it. And the development model is very shady as well, because they're just not introducing the stuff in a good and timely order. Some people played 1000 hours or more of the game and they love it, and I can agree with them, but again, it's their experience based on playing the game in a certain way, with more people, with less people, having a lot of time to play the game, having not enough time to play the game. And the review is strictly for the free-to-play version, which is, yeah, it's just what you think it is, it's bait. Anyway, the player base is probably the reason that this controversy exists in the first place, because I don't think people really like this shady, I don't know, gamers tend to be very, very normal people which can be toxic most of the times, but in the context of companies being bad to the player base, they respond very, very fast. And I think this is what people don't realize. If a gaming company, if a gaming corporation does something bad, people will respond super fast to it. And this is becoming more and more of a trend where people are just giving the game a negative review, because that's the only way you can make yourself heard if the game is on Steam. Anyway, the non-premium account restrictions are terrible for the fun that the game is capable of providing, and that's also what the people are complaining about, because if no new players are joining the game will die out eventually. I don't think people will be able or will want to buy the game on the in-game shop for much longer. Hey, you can pet the dog, I forgot about that. Look at that monster, she was trying to do that. Anyway, it is what it is, and I hope, I don't know, I hope gamers do this a lot more often, where they express their opinions. And I was watching a streamer, and that streamer had about 2000 people watching, and he was expressing his opinion as well, and he was saying the same thing. People are complaining that the game is free to play on Steam, and that's not all that people are complaining about. And this is kind of like the problem with games today. The community will be driven by influencers, and the new players will be, I don't know, will be giving a more accurate assessment of what the game currently is than the community, which has been in the game for such a long time that they don't even remember what the changes are. So my recommendation would be, you don't play the game, you don't waste your time with it, you don't upgrade to the paid version of the game, you don't do any of that, because the game has a very uncertain future. And for a game like this, I'm sure they'll just follow in the footsteps of Tarkov as much as they can, because remember, Tarkov also gave trial accounts for 2 or 3 days, or for a week or 4 weeks. I don't remember the exact way they did it or the amount they did it, but it's the same controversy as Escape from Tarkov, and they'll reach the same point as Escape from Tarkov. Remember, Escape from Tarkov became really, really bad and evil after about 5 years of selling their game and promising people that they will do it. And that's a multi-$100 million company. I mean, I think the income for the Escape from Tarkov developers was about $100 million every year for 2 or 3 years. And of course, then it dropped a lot. And think about that. They used hundreds of millions of dollars to make Escape from Tarkov, and these developers, I'm not sure how much money they use, but that's why the game development is so slow and not really going anywhere. Anyway, that's all I had to say about the game. I don't see any reason why you should try it or play it, and considering the way the developers are treating their player base and new player base and how they're marketing their game, it will have a sad ending just like Escape from Tarkov. Bye bye.